Greetings, unsettled souls, and welcome to The Correct Views. Sam IBDGNG of the Media Speaks, signing on, friends. We have a lot of news today. For one thing, I've been swarmed like a beehive with dumdies. I have had dumdies coming out of every orifice of my body, including the X-rated ones, and nothing I can do about it. So I'm in the process of trying to weed them out. So there's going to be, once again, 2 dumdies for the day. But I want to tell you, friends, as we begin the show, there is, in fact, only 3 days left as I make my lower third here because Google sucks. It's now. It's now or never, friends. Donate to Passing Time, the band, on Kickstarter. You can look for that Passing Time band Kickstarter. We are working on something huge. We are someone who has a love for music. Music isn't something you do because you want to pass the time. Passing time, I know, it's a play on words. It's not something you do now and again. Music is something you do because it matters to you. And if you are tired of hearing some of the worst music extant today, praised as if it was some godly musical form, then would you please look up what we're trying to do on Kickstarter. And for those of you that wish I would just start the show, the whole campaign ends in 3 days, so you're going to get your wish. Guys, this is the most ironic news ever. U.S. paratroopers to begin the Ukraine mission in mid-April. What day? 290 U.S. paratroopers will arrive on April 20th at the Yavmariv military zone. This is from Christopher Harris at internationalbusiness.com. Now, a lot of people out there think that this is talking about 420. Hey, man, it's 420. For those of you that like the characters I do, I'm doing them on April 1st, so make sure you tune in. All the fictional characters from Halloween, I'm going to be doing them on April Fool's Day. But no, I'm not talking about 420. I'm not doing the pot holiday. No. 420, unfortunately, to ruin an otherwise good holiday, is Hitler's birthday. For those of you that don't know your history, and it'd probably be most Rihanna fans, let me catch you up to date with a fact here for a second. And for those of you that already know history, you're laughing because you know exactly where I'm about to go with this. Just let me go there. Hitler was not a brilliant man, by the way. He had brilliant generals. He had brilliant people around him that did not love the Nazi ideal, such as Albert Speer and, to a larger degree, Rommel. And my point being, Hitler had brilliance around him. He was not brilliant. One of the unbrilliant things that he did that his generals and everybody with a thinking part of their brain told him not to do was invade Russia in the winter. Now, if you're smarter than the average mushroom stem, you know that it gets very, very cold in Russia. How many of you know the saying that I use all the time? I can't quit using it. It's just part of who I am. You've been hosed. What that means, a lot of people think it means beat with a rubber hose, which they do to people when as torture. It could be. But the historical aspect of that is that people in Russia, in Siberia particularly, would hose you down with water and then send you out into the sub-zero temperatures to have the most miserable freezing death of your life. That's what it means to be hosed. Hitler invaded Russia and suffered, starting at Stalingrad, the worst defeat practically in the last 200 years of military history. It was the reason that most of Europe is not speaking German today. The lunatic had the war won. In the bag, won. It would have taken America to drop a nuclear bomb on Germany, which they were also looking for. So we don't know who would have gotten it first. Maybe the people in America could be speaking Deutsch. If he hadn't invaded Russia. Now, I think he's the most despicable man ever. I'm a libertarian. But my point being, he's a fascist, for those of you that don't know. My point being, Hitler, who was born on 4/20, April 20th, lost the war that he had done so much to win by messing with Russia. For those of you that love irony and have been paying attention to Sam IB's little history lesson, you're about to love this. As many as 900 Ukrainian troops will take part in training exercises, as a link there, with U.S. paratroopers in April. Ukrainian Interior Minister Arsen Avakov said after talks with U.S. Vice President Joe Biden on Monday. In the joint exercise, volunteer Ukrainian troops will receive basic battlefield training to better help them combat Russian-backed rebels in the contested regions of Luhansk and Donetsk. 290 paratroopers will arrive on April 20th, that is to say Adolf Hitler's despicable birthday, at the Yevmeriv military zone in western Ukrainian region. So in other words, the United States is going to provoke Russia starting on Hitler's birthday. Hitler, who also chose to mess with Russia and cost himself the entire Reich, his entire leadership, and led his country into destruction. Now, am I saying that I'm a Putin fan? Do me a favor. Look up the correct views, Putin. I think that he's one of the lowest pieces of human filth extant in leadership today. He is just as much of a sellout and globalist as Obama is. The only difference being he has Russia's interest at heart, where he wants to be the leader, just like Obama has us kind of in his vision, as he wants to be a leader in the New World Order as well. So no, I don't like Putin. I think he's a dictator. I think you don't trust Obama, do you, who came from the CIA, who has CIA ties, to say the word it that way so that people don't think I'm a conspiracy nut. Well, okay, Putin has KGB ties. So why would you not trust the CIA, but you trust the KGB? What would be wrong with you? But yeah, for those of you that love ironic facts of history, well, there you go. That's why I made up my lead-off story. Leave a comment if you were able to find the irony in that. Type in my comment line, I see the irony. Let me know what your favorite charity is, and I'll promote it next show, like I'm doing the Wounded Warriors Project for Tim now. Wounded Warriors, check them out. They help our fallen men. LATimes.com, risk of 8.0 earthquake in California raises USGS, says. All right, listen to this. For those of you that already know the fears of a nuclear power and nuclear war included, make sure you subscribe. I do a Fukushima update once a month, and it's also coming this week. With my imitations, man. April Fool's Day. Make sure you tune in. We need to shut down the nuclear power plants in California and in most of the world, but particularly in California, the Middle East, and certain parts of Russia, because the same geologists and seismologists, the same people that understand the structure of the world more than I could ever pretend that I do, that warned about what was going to happen in Japan when Fukushima suffered the earthquake and tsunami, the same people that predicted that there should not be a nuclear power plant in Fukushima Prefecture are the same people that are predicting that this is going to happen to California now. It's also important, as I say at every Fukushima update, to remember that it was not the tsunami that caused all of the trouble at Fukushima. Some of the meltdowns, melt-throughs, and melt-outs, look up what all three are if you don't know, were caused by the earthquake. Some of them were caused by the tsunami. The earthquake alone, in magnitude, caused the meltdowns of certain reactors in Fukushima, even if the tidal wave had never hit. And if you don't believe that, look up the work of Helen Caldicott, Lauren Moray, Chris Busby, and it will all be abundantly clear that I'm not making it up. Well, estimates of the chance of a magnitude 8.0 or greater earthquake hitting California in the next 3 decades have been raised from about 4.7 to 7%, the U.S. Geological Survey said Tuesday. Of course, if this happens, it's only 7%. Even if it happens, it is a small percentage, it's going to affect the lives of, well, basically you won't be able to live in any healthy amplitude anyway on the entire west coast of the U.S., which I would argue after Fukushima you should now. The effect that it will have on the food that feeds the entire world. You know that the entire world depends on food coming out of California. It doesn't matter. Obviously, I'm American, so I'm rooting for America. It doesn't matter who owns California. It could be owned by space aliens. It could be owned by the mighty mice men on the moon, made out of green cheese, wearing tinfoil hats. It wouldn't matter. California feeds at least some percentage of most of the world. There's a 7% chance that California, within just the next 3 decades, could suffer an earthquake so bad that made that no longer a reality because of the amount of poison that would be grown there. I try to avoid anything that comes out of California now because of the fallout and meltdown and everything from Fukushima. If this was to happen, as my dad used to say, Katie bar the door, it's over. And this is only 3 decades. Of course, the percentage goes up higher and higher as you go. And nuclear power plants are meant to last for decades. So if they're going to be around for decades, you have an incrementally higher growing chance of the earthquake predicted by the same people that predicted the last devastating earthquake to happen again. And since scientists, who I just talked about, said that the reason for the increased estimate was because of the growing understanding that earthquakes aren't limited to separate faults, such as the San Andreas fault, but can start on one fault and jump to others. The result would be multiple faults rupturing in a simultaneous mega quake. And that would explain a lot of the Ohio quakes. Stated another way, the chance of an 8.0 or greater quake in Cali can be expected once every 494 years. The oldest forecast calculated a rate of 8.0 earthquake or higher every 617 years. The new likelihoods are due to the inclusion of pulsable multi-fault ruptures. In other words, if you have nuclear power plants, which we do, put in the most seismic regions, which we do, what does the thinking part of your brain tell you that this is going to lead to? You on low def, you on high def. Tell me. Because it seems that it can only end one possible way. What do? You do everything you can to stop the progression of nuclear power. Occupy nuke plants. Do whatever you want. Get them peacefully to stop the construction of these things. Because, friends, it's a time bomb that is going to go off. It's not might go off. It absolutely is going off. And to a very large degree, the entire survival of our species depends on no more of this. You must understand that already from bomb testing and from the nuking of Japan and from depleted uranium being used in weaponry in Iraq, that we are looking at already a contamination of our DNA that can never be taken away. Again, look up the work of Helen Caldicott if you don't believe me. She's a doctor. It's bad, and it doesn't need to be getting worse by us subsidizing these nuke plants to exist, which we do from our taxes every day. Guys, this show is going to go long if I don't speed this up. Daily.com, Iceland pirate party support. Listen to this. The Icelandic political party that wants to grant citizenship to NSA whistleblower and, might I say, hero Edward Snowden and radically reform copyright law is now the country's most popular party. A new survey from the Icelandic research firm MMR found that 23.9% of Icelanders support the Pirate Party, compared to 23.4% of the Independence Party. This represents a substantial change from the last MMR survey, which found that the Pirate Party was in second place. In other words, the more libertarian-minded, open-thinking, forward-moving party that is not the progressives is taking over in Iceland. Iceland has it going on. They have so many things going right for them. Where we bailed our bankers out with money that you and I earned, Iceland jails their bankers when they caused the same problem there. Guess what? America has the same problem rebuilding at a faster pace in our economy. That's not the case in Iceland. To be completely honest, I don't know why we enjoy so much trust, said Birgitta Jónsdóttir, one of the 3 Pirate Party representatives in the Icelandic parliament. We are all just as surprised and thankful and take this as a sign of mistrust towards conventional politics. I would hope so. The Pirate Party political has not taken many stances on contemporary Icelandic issues. Instead, it advocates for radical changes to broader political problems such as copyright law, patent protection, and government transparency. In other words, it worries about things that affect the average Icelandic person. Try to say that a few times. Average Icelandic person. Not as easy as you think. It doesn't really roll off the tongue. Guys, you get my point. My point being, when you actually clamp down on criminal activity in the banking industry, then what you find is that criminal activity in the banking industry diminishes, and your country gets better as a whole as you go in a more libertarian, open society, laissez-faire, lackadaisical. Freebeacon.com, the EPA wants to monitor how long hotel guests spend in the shower. Well, I'm not going to be going to the hotel that I normally go to, shout out to the Seacrest, because I'm probably not going to be going to Cedar Point like I was going before, because Christelle wanted to decide she was going to bet me something, and now I'm not going to be going to Cedar Point at all, and her summer and my summer are now over. Before it begins, the EPA wants to monitor how long hotel guests spend in the shower. If they had any idea how long I sit in the shower and will continue to sit in the shower, because I know, thanks to climategate.com, that man-made global warming is a lie. There's a $15,000 grant creating device to modify guests' behavior. If this does not set your BS meter off, you don't have a BS meter. The Environmental Protection Agency, which Ron Paul wisely wanted to get rid of, wants hotels to monitor how much time its guests spend in the shower. The agency, it says, is spending $15 grand to create a wireless system that will track how much water a hotel guest uses to get them to modify their behavior. Let me tell you something. I snowboard and I suck at it. Therefore, when I go to the hotel after I'm done suck at the sport that I like so much, I need a nice, long, hot bath. And if you think you're going to modify this behavior, I've got an ass for you to kiss. Hotels consume a significant amount of water. That's because they have a significant amount of snowboarders that suck in the U.S. and around the world. Well, that's probably true all over the world where there is snow. And the EPA grant to the University of Tulsa reads, most hotels do not monitor individual guest water usage, and as a result, millions of gallons of potable water are wasted every year by hotel guests. Wasted? Therefore, you know, if Obama wants to go golfing for 200 plus rounds of golf, which he has played, that is not my opinion, that is fact, since he's been in office, how long do you think his bath is when he gets back? Oh, but it's different for him, ain't it? It's wasted water when you and I do it, because, you know, if he gulps and hurts himself, well, he's a god. But if we snowboard and fall down the hill and, well, you know, we're just scum, we should take a bath in the snow. When man-made global warming is not happening. I wasn't going to yell, I'm already yelling. The proposed work aims to develop a novel, low-cost wireless device for monitoring water use from hotel guest room showers, it said. This device will be designed to fit most new and existing hotel shower fixtures and will wirelessly transmit hotel guest water usage to a central hotel accounting system. Friends, this is the single stupidest thing that I have reported on in a very long time. The EPA also has a water sense program that challenges hotels to track their water use. In other words, hotels are going to get clamped down on so that they have to clamp down on you wanting to get a warm shower. It says, following publication of the story, the EPA Deputy Press Secretary Lauren Allen said the EPA is not monitoring how much time hotel guests spend in the shower. Let us be clear. The EPA is not monitoring how much time hotel guests spend in the shower, she said. As part of the People, Prosperity, and the Planet, P3, which needs to be watched as a nutcase job organization, a student design competition for sustainability. Students at the U.S. University of Tulsa are conducting research to develop a novel, low-cost wireless device for monitoring water use from hotel guest showers. In other words, we're not watching you, but I just laid out that we are watching you. Doublespeak. Thank you, 1984. The marketplace, not EPA, will decide if there is a demand for this type of technology, as in guilting you into not taking a hot shower after you fell down a snowy hill. You should be sitting home, eating bonbons, playing video games, getting fat and dying of cancer. You should not go snowboarding. Nor should you get a hot shower that you need afterwards. It's ultimately up to hotels to use technology like the monitors being developed at the Uni of Tulsa. EPA is encouraging creativity with water conservation efforts. Why don't they use creativity in how many different ways they can kiss my bottom? Friends, you're listening to the correct views. Do me a favor. Sticker Junkie. Nobody makes better stickers than Sticker Junkie does. Even if you don't really know what you want, if you already are a great artist, you're going to want to use Sticker Junkie, but you might have a couple other alternatives that you can use because your artwork looks amazing. How many times do you kind of know what you want, but maybe not know what you want? Well, get a hold of David Lake. Tell him you heard about Sticker Junkie from Correct Views. And guess what? You will get the best looking stickers that you've ever imagined that you would ever own. And it's going to happen to you from stickerjunkie.com. Moving on, I got 4 more stories left. I told you we were going to go long today. This is brought to you by Mike McLaughlin. I'm happy to have a writer as a supporter of the show. Go to facebook.com, look up the works of Mike McLaughlin, MacLaughlan, Mike McLaughlin, fiction, poetry, political commentary. He does it all. Let him know you heard about it from me. It'd be a huge help to the show. Friends, the new American liberal anchor, our rights do not come from God. And see, this is dangerous, even if you are an atheist, even if you hate God, even if you've got like 666 tattooed on your balls or something. I don't know. This is really bad because if you don't believe that you were either given the rights by God, or if you don't believe in God, I'm not being condescending. If you don't believe that you were born with these rights, then you have a huge problem. So please, atheists, please, please, please just hear me out here, because we're on the same side. I believe that our rights come from God, which is what the Constitution says. You may believe that rights are inherent by the fact that you were born. They were not given to you by any God, because there is no God. Okay? You and I disagree on where our rights come from, but we do not believe that our rights come from the government. Can we both agree on that? Yep. You in? Okay, good. I'm in too. Listen to this. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. These words are probably the best known in the Declaration of Independence, but perhaps not by CNN anchor Chris Cuomo. Either that or he simply doesn't believe them, because while debating the constitutionality of faux marriage Thursday morning, he said that our rights do not come from God, but man. Now, can you see why this is a bad idea? Atheists, if you want to say, hey, I was born with these rights, okay, fine. If you're a Christian, as I am, God gave you these rights. That's better. But to say that man gives you rights implies that man can take rights away. That is the exact opposite of what the word right implies. I should have given him a dundee. Toward the end of a passionate exchange with Alabama Chief Justice Roy Moore, in which the latter asserted that rights cannot be a product of man, Cuomo made his remarks saying, our rights do not come from God. That's your faith. That's my faith. That's not our country. Our laws come from collective agreement and compromise. Well, I don't believe that that is, in fact, what the Constitution said. Anybody? Thomas Jefferson, who wrote the Declaration of Independence, might be surprised to hear this, it says. There may be some who would lament that the Founding Fathers didn't have Chris Cuomo around to set them straight before old Tom put pen to paper. Says, but others might note that Cuomo's opinion was a very shallow statement that gets at some very deep issues. First, the newsman seems to be confusing laws with rights. If our rights are from God, they exist apart from governmental laws, which man does create. And then one of the main purposes of law is to recognize and protect those rights. That is why the Declaration states immediately after the pronouncement on creator-endowed rights that, quote, to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, thus separating what you are born with from God, or just born with for you atheists, and what is given by man. They are separate whether you believe in God or not. They do not come from man. These rights are secured by government via the creation of enforcement of just law. Why did the founders emphasize rights' divine origin? Because he or he who giveth can also taketh away. In other words, if men gave you your rights, then men can take your rights away. As a related example, I've often made the point that if what we call morality comes from man, it then is illusory and will change with the winds of convenience among men. This was in 2013. It says, to say that the society determines morality is to simply put lipstick on the pig of man's preferences about behavior. To allegorize the matter, if we learned that 90% of the world preferred vanilla to chocolate, would this somehow make chocolate wrong or evil? No, it would simply be an issue of taste. But then how does it make any sense to say that murder is wrong if the only reason we do so is that the majority of the world prefers that one nut kill and then the majority calls unjust? If this is all that there is, then murder falls into the same category as flavor or taste. I think that's a great example of exactly where this falls apart at, among other areas. So go to the article. It's at the New American. Liberal anchor, our rights do not come from God. It is the most dangerous line of thinking that you could ever possibly bring yourself down, because not only is it wrong, but it leads to the exercising of many of your other rights. Friends, prisonplanet.com. It's actually, it's posted on Prison Planet, but its origin is Free Thought Project. Cassandra rules. Cop no-knock raid, stomp necks, destroy, and nearly burn down a home to find a broken pot pipe. Oh, man, I like pot pipes. Tune in April 1st. I'm doing all the characters. A Wichita mother and local business owner has taken to YouTube to express her anger over a violent no-knock raid that occurred on Friday morning at the home she owns and rents to her son and his friends. Taylor Timoni, 22, and Michael Kostelecki, 21, were home on Friday around 10 a.m. That's when officers, armed with rifles, burst through the unlocked door to the home that they share with another friend with a battering ram. Sieg Heil! The roommates were allegedly ordered to the ground with rifles as an officer instructed one of his accomplices that if you want them to be quiet, just do them like this, and proceeded to slam Kostelecki to the ground using his foot to stomp on his neck and his head. The female officer, who was holding Timoni at gunpoint, reportedly followed suit and did the same to him. I'll tell you one thing you can do. You can hook your computers up to any of a million free webcam recording devices and record your home at all times. And if you were to get a break-in like this, you would have it on film. If you shut your monitor off, they'll never know they were being filmed, which is legal to do in your own home, by the way. The men allege that an officer asked them how they were able to pay the rent of such an expensive home, seemingly the only explanation as to why these men were targeted. In other words, because you don't look like you should live in this neighborhood, you must be selling drugs or you couldn't afford to live here. Sieg Heil. The roommates also have music studios set up and home artists, so our free people are coming and going frequently. In other words, to record there, and I know, don't argue with me on this, I've done this my whole life. It's not open for debate. This is how it is. You pay a recording studio by the hour, which I have done nauseatingly many times in my life. Thankfully, my brother and I now own our own studio. Free shout out, DJ Aram. You buy it by the hour. So if a rapper buys a beat from a producer, the producer will say, all right, for X amount of dollars, here is the song. When it's a beat, yo, it's actually the whole song. Here's your song that you're going to rap over, yo. And I'll sell you 2 hours of studio time for $40. So the guy gives him $40, comes over, spends his 2 hours, gets his tracks done, and leaves and saves to do it again. That's how people that own studios make money. That would imply that people are coming and going at all hours of the day and night whenever they set up a studio. A lot of people like me enjoy using studios in private residences because this is going on at 5 or 3 in the morning. I have these hours, and I sometimes choose people who own studios that will accommodate these kinds of hours. Again, I'm speaking hypothetically because we have a studio now, but you know what I mean. It's not unusual for people to be coming and going frequently. It says there were reportedly no explanation given to the young men about why they had been under surveillance or why they were being raided. The officers even failed to provide a copy of the search warrant to the men at the time of the raid. A document obtained from the police by Porter reportedly states that the warrant was not presented because there was no one home when the police entered the house, which was not true, Kansas Exposed reported, so it was a lie. Sieg Heil. Porter further explains that after trashing the home, the only thing that the officers managed to find was an old broken piece of a marijuana pipe, man. When Timoni and Kostelecki arrived home after being detained, the house was completely trashed and a warrant was sitting on the kitchen counter. In what looked like an almost deliberate move to cause damage, a scarf was left on top of a knocked over space heater and had begun to burn. It was true that we were released and arrived home in time to catch before the whole place burned down and all their belongings went up in flames. From disfiguring a toddler to throwing a flash grenade, reported on all of that. We know he's leave too. Here's just another example of the grotesque abuse of power that we're seeing on a regular basis. And friends, that brings us to not one but two dum-dee-dum-dee-dum-dee-dum-dees of the day. Dunce Cap of the Month, also coming this month, this week, I should say. I've got a lot to do this week, but I will be working on it. Fukushima Dumdies and the April Fool's Show. It is possible that either Dundee or Fukushima will be moved to Monday, but we'll see as time goes here. 6-year-old child is suspended for making gun shape with hand. Friends, we have gone too far. We have taken this whole zero tolerance insanity way too far. The latest case, zero tolerance madness, has occurred in Colorado Springs as a first grader has been suspended from school for pointing his fingers in the shape of a gun. It's a familiar tale, as Elijah Thurston became just another in a long list of children to be punished for innocent imaginary play. The boy allegedly made the gun shape with his hand and said, "You're dead," while pointing at another child in the class, which of course killed him outright. No. Elijah was given a one-day suspension for threats against peers and was forced to undergo a lecture from a school administrator at Stratton Meadows Elementary School regarding what it means to be dead. In other words, they traumatized the poor kid. That's a parent's job. The re-education also consisted of ensuring that Elijah no longer confuses make-believe or things in games with reality, according to KRDO News. The incident could be permanently logged onto the boy's behavior record. How many of you like the violent femmes? This will be recorded in your private records. Anyone? Violent femmes? Yes, leave it in the comment lines. First of all, there's nothing to say that the child ever confused real dead with imaginary dead. There's nothing that implies that he didn't know outright that the guy wasn't really going to die, that the kid wasn't really going to die. So to imply that he needed taught the difference is to imply that he didn't know the difference. He did know the difference, very likely. It says, "I know we have zero tolerance, but more of a maybe no recess," his dad, Austin Thurston, said. Going as far as a one-day suspension is a little extreme. Friends, this has been a little extreme since the end of the George Bush presidency. Pregnancy gave birth to an alien. A presidency. This has been way beyond reality for so long that if you can't see why this won the first of two dumdies of the day, then you, in fact, are part of the problem. The last of the two dumdies, Paul Joseph Watson, the feminists accuse clothing company of fat-shaming over baby onesie. Now, please know, before you say, "Sam, you're fat-shaming." No, I'm not, because I think I'm fat, too. It's not about whether or not you're shaming somebody into losing weight. The point is that fat people can always stand to benefit in a healthy way from losing weight. I probably would spend a lot less time falling down the hill if I myself would lose weight. Am I obese? No. Am I fat? No. Am I chubby? I'm a little chubby. Yeah, all right, fat. Fair enough. Irate feminists have accused a clothing company of fat-shaming babies over the onesie outfit, which features the words, "I hate my thighs," asserting that the message is detrimental to the baby's body image. Because we all know that, babies, when they're not reading their clothing, are busy reading the writings of Dostoevsky. Miss Magazine editor Michelle Court, whose article on the subject link drew attention to this apparently vital cause, wrote, quote, "We feminists do have a sense of humor, but really, there's nothing icky about projecting fat awareness on babies." Well, that would imply that you do, in fact, not have a sense of humor. It says, never mind, I blew his horn. No, Michelle, you don't have a sense of humor, writes PJ Dub, and neither do the perpetually offended, joyless feminist harpies that collapsed in hysteria over this. Court is apparently unaware of the basic fact that babies can't read and would have absolutely no idea what the text on the onesie meant, meaning it would be impossible to feel fat-shamed. Not that they would even begin to grasp the concept of fat-shaming to begin with. It's true. I know. I saw some like Islamic hatred written. You know what? I didn't know what it said. However, an NBC poll today, Lake, found that 56% of viewers thought that the onesie was offensive, with just 41% considering it to be cute. This is the world that is paved for the death that is Hillary Clinton. Rybaby, the company that produced the outfit, initially pulled the item after the controversy began, but then put it back up, thank God, on their website alongside another version which read, "I love my leg rolls." By the way, I support Rybaby, WRYBABY. I now support them as of this moment. It says, why? Because they hate feminism, and so do I. That's why. Third wave feminism, to be clear. It says it wasn't good enough for Court, who persisted with her insanity, remarking, "Sorry that we don't see much difference between I hate my thighs and I love my leg rolls. The subject of the latter is that someone would not love their leg rolls. But of course, we're making too much of this, right? You won't have leg rolls if you eat less junk food, you fat freaking cow. How's that? I hope I offended you because I could eat a few less chocolate rolls my fat ass self. So bring it on." Rybaby refused to back down, thank God, despite Court's attempt to whip up a phony outrage campaign. "We couldn't agree more about body image," the company wrote. "That's why we made an ironic joke about it. Obviously, no baby would or should hate their thighs. We're glad that you're able to froth up your readers this week and shine the light on what is apparently a vital mission for your Miss Magazine. Reviewing babies' clothes." Yes, I love that they gave them the one finger salute and told them how to eat it. Friends, you're listening to The Correct Views. Sam I. B. DeGangi, signing off. You can donate to the show at thecorrectviews@hotmail.com. Every penny you give to me goes towards a better show. Go to themediaspeaks.com, look up the work of Kyle, Court, D. Lake, and myself. And friends, above all else, thank you for listening. Good night. God bless.